Good evening. It is Wednesday, June the 28th, 2023. And I am in Oregon's High Cascades at Crater Lake National Park. I have hiked into the backcountry. I covered 3 miles from Rim Village along the West Crater Rim, situated around 6,750 feet. The hike today was absolutely stunning. It was very hot. The views were gorgeous, and the mosquitoes are out. Camp is set, nestled in this nice grove of what I'm guessing are giant hemlocks. I am here for a 3-day, 2-night backpacking trip. I'm here to meet my friend Nick Bardoni. He's coming up from Las Vegas. He's an old middle school, high school friend who I haven't seen in years, and I had rumor that he was going to be here. Got in touch with him and made plans to meet him here tomorrow. So that being said, I decided if I'm going to come down to Crater Lake, I might as well do a backpacking trip while I'm here, and that's what kind of led me to Lightning Springs Backcountry Camp. The entire east side of the park and the north side of the park is kind of closed down right now. The Crater Rim Trail, or the Crater Rim The Crater Rim Road is mostly shut down to vehicle traffic. You can bike it and you can walk it, and they're going to open it soon, but most of the park is kind of inaccessible due to that, and so that narrowed my options. In 2017, I visited Crater Lake with Sarah, and during that trip, the whole west side was closed down because it was on fire. And so we had to stay mostly to the east side. So things are kind of working out in a way that I'm kind of getting to see another section of the park intimately that I did not get to several years ago. I'd like to send a huge thank you and shout out to Ryan Dipple from Eugene, Oregon. He let me stay at his place last night on the drive down here, helped me cut it in half to turn it into 2 4-hour drives instead of one major 8-hour drive. Thank you. It was really cool to sit around and talk about duck hunting, and I can't wait for fall to come around already. I also want to thank Ryan for kind of creeping me out before I came on this trip. He said some words that kind of sunk deep and kind of reflected some other words that my friend Nick said when we were planning this trip. When I told Nick I was going to camp in the backcountry, he said, "Watch out, you know, a lot of people have disappeared in Crater Lake National Park." And then one of the first things Ryan talked to me about when I sat down with him on his couch last night was he kind of explained how he was an empath and he feels things that other people really can't. And when he was here at Crater Lake, he got kind of a weird, bad feeling. And he said he just felt like there's a lot of bad juju here. And that made me think about Nick's comment about the disappearances and some online searches I've done about people disappearing in Crater Lake National Park, and human remains being found at times. And so I went to bed last night with that on my mind, and it's kind of been on my mind all day. You know, before I left Ryan's house, he said he was going to burn some sage for me. I hope he did. But he also reassured me that I got this. I'm a mountain man, and it's no big deal. I did talk to the rangers about it at the Wilderness Information Center, and they didn't have too much to say about it, being new working here at Crater Lake. So I guess what I'm pulling from it all is it's good to be a little bit scared so that you feel a little bit alive. I'm getting a much better understanding for why they call this region the High Cascades. I mean, right now I'm just moving up from camp to head up to the crater rim, and I'm probably around 7,000 feet. It's very deceiving. Look at all the timber that is around me. It's kind of just like a big plateau that is ever more evident when you get some views from above. Still is a nice open style of forest. Very little underbrush. Easy to move around in underneath amongst the trunks. This region has a ton of pumice plains. It's kind of a small one, but there's much bigger ones within the park. Almost like deserts. All right, I have made it back up to the crater rim to hopefully catch some evening light, and already it's really gorgeous. I'm gonna try and resist the urge to take a lot of shots until I get to the lookout up above me here. I'm sure it's gonna be fantastic up there, and hopefully I can get out of these mosquitoes because they're man-eaters right now. All right, here I am. I made it to the top of 8,013 foot Watchman Peak. And it's a pretty awesome spot. Let's take a look around. So it looks like that the lookout tower is National Park Service personnel only, so I'm not going to go up there. This is looking off towards the west and the setting sun and the rolling hills of Oregon's vast forests. They're not really hills, they're more like foothills and pretty big mountains. We're getting some views of some of the volcanoes, Oregon's Cascades. We've got Mount Bailey, and then Diamond Peak, and then Hillman Peak is right here, and then that really sharp one way off in the distance, that is the lightning rod of the Cascades, Mount Thielsen. And coming over here, getting views now looking into Crater Lake, Lalo Rock, Spread Eagle, watching over the big vast blue waters. And the sun has just set over Wizard Island, the youngest cone poking up out of the lake. All right, and these are the views to the southwest, down the other half of Oregon's Cascade Range. And just when I see this view right here in front of me, it just looks like when it was erupting, it was just violent. And fire mountains of Oregon is what I think of. Vast stretches of lodgepole pine forests. My camp is down in there. I've walked through all these pumice plains and meadows up to this road here to the crater rim. That there is Mount Scott. That is Mount McLaughlin. Excuse me. That there is Union Peak. That's Mount McLaughlin. Look at this collection of cinder cones here. And then here's the section of the crater rim that I hiked today. And the rim village is right over there. That's Garfield Peak. I may go up there tomorrow when I meet up with Nick. I don't know if you can see it, but you see the U-shaped valleys hanging in the sides of the crater wall. That was once filled with the valley glaciers coming off of Mount Mazama. And they've been beheaded, and the glaciers, of course, were obliterated and they're gone, but they left behind their telltale valleys. Also, down over here is the Klamath Basin, which is a vast, vast plain of agriculture. There's some very famous waterfowling marshes down in that region of Oregon, and I wish to go hunt there one of these days. Lighting is really good right now on that side of the crater. There's Mount Scott directly across from us right over there, and that is the highest point in Crater Lake National Park. And, last time I was here, we camped at the base of that cross country, and we did do the hike up to the lookout that's up there. Awesome views. And at 1,943 feet deep, Crater Lake is the deepest lake in the United States and 9th deepest in the world. So it holds a top 10 ranking internationally. Just look at that. It's fantastic. The reflection off the water, the colors. That water is so mesmerizing. The colors, the blue. Wait till the sun hits it. But right now the reflection's over there. It's hard to leave, but before it gets too dark, I have to leave and go back down to camp. But I totally understand why they call this place the Watchman. The views of Oregon's southern Cascades were fantastic from up here. All the way north, east, south, west. It's a complete treat to somebody from Washington, you know. Our Cascades are completely different from the ones down here. It has its own beauty within the high plateau of this region of the range. So I'm going to head back down to camp and have a little bit to eat before it gets too dark and before the woods get too spooky at night. There is still a lot of lingering snow on some aspects of Mount Mazama. I'm just going to skirt my way down here till I link up with the trail. Well, here's that magical moment. It doesn't matter where your location is during that moment. It always happens to be breathtaking. Incredible day of hiking in Crater Lake National Park. There's no one out here right now. I got the whole place to myself. All right, I have made it back to camp just in time. The sun has definitely gone down. I'm gonna go prepare to spend my first night solo in these woods right here. Well, good morning. I survived the night. I'm not gonna lie, there were definitely some strange noises right at dusk and in the middle of the night. Definitely got the imagination stirring. I'm gonna quickly get up here, get my day pack ready to go, and make my way back south along the West Crater Rim to Rim Village and meet up with my friend Nick Bardoni. It's gonna be a good day today. I think these are the springs, which are the namesake of Lightning Springs Backcountry Camp. It's very tasty, very tasteless actually, and just pure, clean, and cold. It's coming right out of the ground in several places. All right, I have made it back up to the lake, and now I'm going to start making my way over to Rim Village. It is really hot and in the light on this side of the crater. I don't even need to look at the sun because it's in the lake right there. Pretty much spent the day up here at Rim Village, and I have rendezvoused with my old middle school, high school buddy, Nick Bardoni. It's been probably a decade since I've seen him last. He's here with his family, and we're gonna hike out to Observation Point Lookout together.
Yeah.
See what we can get into. All right, well, this is my friend Nick Bardoni. He's pretty much the whole reason for this trip. I was invited, pretty much this whole thing was put together to kind of do a little reunion here at Crater Lake. It's in between where he lives and where I live. I don't know. He's a badass. I could say so much about Nick Bardoni, but I'm going to let him introduce himself to the camera.
Hello, everybody. Knew Aaron since 6th grade. Yeah, since 6th grade. Haven't seen him in like 10 years. Still looks the same. And just happy to be here. Happy to meet up with him.
What was so this is your first time seeing Crater Lake, right?
First time. It's beautiful. Probably one of my top 10 most beautiful places that I've been to. Wish I could jump in the lake, but next time.
Yeah, it's definitely worth jumping in and going for a swim. I guess if you could, one part of this lake that's going to stick in your memory as you leave, what would that be? Like,
pretty much how blue it is. Yeah, it's probably the bluest lake I've ever seen, to be honest. It's like turquoise blue. And then when you go closer to the cliffs and you can see like right to the bottom, you can see how deep it goes. It's really pretty.
Yeah. I think it has a world record for the clearest water in the world.
Fresh air too. Fresh air, just natural beauty. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Whoever comes out here, it's worth the trip.
All right, Stan. Is this your first time to Crater
First time
Lake?
to Crater Lake. It's nice to be with the family and a young man named Aaron Fullwider. Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate everything you did for us today. Can't beat the beauty. Can't beat with 3 beautiful granddaughters. I guess you got to pan to the 3 beautiful. We're all wrapped up. They're all wrapped up like they're gonna die from the bugs. And my son Nick and his beautiful wife Maria.
Are you glad that I warned you about the mosquitoes before we came out here? Okay.
Very much.
What'd you all think of Crater Lake?
It's beautiful.
Would you come back again?
Yes.
With more bug spray.
And a net.
Next time in July, so we could jump in the
What?
lake.
I'm gonna do a cartwheel into the
I
lake.
would come with a whole
Yeah.
body net. Like, it's just gonna go over
Like
me.
a beekeeper.
I wanted to see Nick do a backflip
thinking
into
of
the
that,
lake,
but-
actually.
He would have. He would have.
So maybe next time we'll do a little bit later and
Yeah.
go down to Cleetwood Cove and so we can go jump in off the cliff down there. All right, it is approaching mid-afternoon. That is the lookout I was on top of last night with those incredible views. And I've left my friends. They turned around to head back to Medford, right over there, I think at Observation Point. And I made my way over here to the Watchman Overlook. You're staring right down at Wizard Island, a cinder cone that grew up out of the giant caldera. And I'm going to finish off the evening by hiking the rest of the crater rim. I hope to make it over there to that notch, just at the base of Lalo Rock. You can't go out on top of the rock. And hopefully I can climb that peak on the way back. This whole structure here is called the Devil's Backbone. I think it's a system of feeder dikes that are exposed after the volcanic eruption. Pretty incredible colors from this perspective. Look at all the colors along the spine of the Devil's Backbone. It just gives you a menu of volcanic material that Mount Mazama was made out of. And a benefit of the explosion is we get to look at the anatomy of how Cascade volcanoes are built. I decided to go for the summit of that one. I just gained the ridge and I shouldn't be up there in too much more time. I have made it to the summit of 8,151 foot Hillman Peak. This one was a bit more sketchy and adventurous than the Watchman. It was a definite scramble on loose volcanic rubble. I think it might be the highest point on the West Crater Rim you can hike to, since Lalo Rock over there is off limits to hikers. And that's in the direction I'm heading. There's a couple overlooks just down right over there. I'm going to make that my turnaround spot. Just look at this. I didn't get to see any of this last night. You can see a lot of the pumice deserts. There's 2 big ones right there. And there's a very colorful cinder cone right there. And then you can really see the extent of the fire damage. A lot of burnt up lodgepole pine forests down there. To get off that peak, I came around the front side and I kind of dropped down onto a ledge right there. I scrambled around the back side of that rock and came down that ridge, and then I gained the snow. Maybe would have wished I had an ice axe for that, but I had my trekking pole. I came down and kind of worked my way up and then worked my way across here. And the last overlook is not too far from where I'm at. I'm just gonna make my way up that way. There should be nice, gentler slopes all the way down to it from here. Found this little baby fawn. I think his mom is right down here. I saw her kind of run off. I'm just gonna leave it alone and go ahead and move on. That's one of the coolest things I've ever found. All right, I think its mama is right there. There's a doe right there. I'm just gonna sneak around and not harass them. Hopefully she'll go back to her baby. I have pretty much made it to the opposite side of the lake from the Rim Village. I'm almost to the end of the West Crater Rim hiking trail. Had to do some off-trail scrambling for a bit up in there. It's always fun. Completely different view from what I've been seeing over the last day and a half. I'm really liking the angle of Lalo Rock. I think I'm gonna head right over there. Call that the turnaround spot. All right, here I am, the end of the line. This is pretty much as far as you can hike along the West Crater Rim. I wish you could go up to Lalo Rock up there. Looks like a pretty fantastic spot. Lalo Rock, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, has some pretty crazy stories behind it. I know there's a legend behind its shape. When you view it from the crater village, it looks like a spread eagle completely flying over the lake. It's a different colored rock than the rest of it. Looks like a pretty crazy place, and possibly where some sacrifices may have happened. I wish I could remember the story. I was going to ask another ranger to tell me, but I just slipped my mind. Ryan, before I left his place in Eugene, did tell me a legend about this place. Evidently, he told me a story that way back in ancient times, there was a great battle between the good sky gods and the demoned evil gods of the underworld, and I think the outcome of that was the eruption of Mount Mazama, and the sky gods trapped the evil demons underground in the lake, encased them in a bunch of water, and so that they wouldn't hurt anybody ever again. And I have to say, when you look at the water, it is mesmerizing. It definitely draws you in mentally and pulls you towards it. You can stare at it for hours. The neon blue, it definitely pulls at you. Pretty much from this point on, I'm turning around, I'm heading back, and I'm gonna make my way to my camp. I'm losing sunlight pretty quick. I guess I could probably got about 2 hours of daylight left. I'm not gonna take the trail back. I'm going to hop on the abandoned Rim Road and just take that back. I should be able to make pretty good time. It's been really nice enjoying Crater Lake National Park up in this corner of the woods with 0 people. I'm the only person out here right now, and I'm definitely getting that experience of being alone in a very wild place, just me and my thoughts and the sound of my feet hitting the ground. I've been walking the empty Crater Rim Road pretty much into the setting sun. And I made this great turn around the Watchman, and I've been going down for quite a bit. And down in here now I'm getting views of where my camp is. There's this giant pumice plain and there's a tiny little mini one, and Lightning Springs is right in that grove of trees, I'm willing to bet. And that's where home is for the night. And I don't have much further to go until I can get off my feet and relax. Pretty much been walking all day. All right, I am safely back at my camp. It is right where I said it would be, in that grove of trees. And there's another camper sharing camp with me tonight. I would enjoy eating outside, but the mosquitoes are very bad, swarms of them, and making it quite impossible. So, tent bound, not because of rain. The strategy is to crawl in and kill all the ones that make it in with you. And then you're kind of in a safe dome. And I've got a pretty good view of sunset through the trees. Good morning. It is Friday, June the 30th, and it's the last day of the month. And what this means is we turn over to July tomorrow. Can't believe the year is already over halfway over. It's a glorious morning. I've already got everything done at camp. Spent a lot of time. I woke up pretty early. Spent some time just relaxing in the morning in the tent. Got everything packed up, and I've made my way up a bit. The mosquitoes are horrendous. I think it's like the peak hatch right now. So I'm just quickly trying to make my way up to the crater rim. I'm gonna hike back to the village. Pretty much this whole leg of the journey I've already done twice already on this trip. So this leg I'm leaving all the memory. I'm not gonna take too much shots. And then hopefully when I get to Rim Village, I'll have time and energy to climb up to Garfield Peak. The views are pretty cool up there, and I've wanted to do it again since I've been back. Right, I've made my way back up to Rim Village, and just learned that the trail up to Garfield Peak is closed. So this is the end of the line for me. Well, the burning of the sage worked. I had a fabulous time in Crater Lake National Park. I survived 2 nights, pretty much solo, in its backcountry wilderness. Crater Lake is the only national park that the state of Oregon has. And what a national park it definitely is. I've been thinking the whole time on this trip how this lake and this scenery here and this park in general just kind of defines a lot of what Oregon is all about, minus, I guess, the coast. It's a blending of the east side and the west side. You have just the beautiful lakes, the forests, the mountain hemlocks, the lodgepole pines, the high, deceiving plateau that's it's at high altitude, and you don't really realize it because it's so timbered. And the vast green rolling hills, and then the fiery origins, the volcanism. You know, this place was completely forged and created by the forces of volcanoes and glaciers. The colors, just all the hot colors with the dry, warm sunshine, definitely defines what Oregon should be all about. And then there's the story that's been going around in my head about that great battle between the sky gods above and the demon gods below. And it's good that the sky gods won and the forces of light always prevail, because what they trapped the forces of evil in Crater Lake's deep, dark abyss, you know, it belongs there. And the sky is definitely in the lake. And when you look at the water, you're seeing good. And it just is inspiring me to leave this place and go home, you know, and wherever we end up coming from and going back to, just to strive to be a better person in life. The healing powers of water, reflecting light back at us, show us the paths forward in life. Lalo was the lord and master of the underworld, and his throne was Mount Mazama. It was the only way he could come up and enter this realm above on the surface of the earth. Lalo also had a following of loyal shapeshifter animals that would do his dirty deeds and were known to pull people and manipulate them to their doom into the crater. I guess they still do. There's a giant crayfish that's most famous of them all that lives in the lake. But we'll get to him later, and there's a whole bunch of other stories that revolve around the giant crayfish. Lalo came above to the land of the living, and he walked around among the people of the Klamath. And evidently he fell in love with a very beautiful daughter of a chief. And neither of them approved. The daughter thought that Lalo was very ugly, because being of the lord of the underworld, you know, it's a very ugly place. And so she rejected him, and he didn't like that. And so he vowed vengeance on the people of the Klamath and brought forth fire and destruction. Now Skell, the lord of the sky, did not like this, the way that Lalo was treating the people, and so he came back down to earth onto Mount Shasta, and both of the mountains battled each other in a great war of fire and pyroclastic flows and eruptions. Not to mention, Skell also has a following of animals that are shapeshifters that do his good deeds. And so imagine this great battle between Lalo and Skell and their animals. And there's a whole other tangent to the story involving the animals and the trickery that goes on. But eventually what happens is they trick Skell's animals, trick Lalo's animals into believing that one of them was dead, and Lalo gets torn to pieces on top of Lalo Rock, I believe by his own giant crayfish and his animals, and his body parts get thrown into the mountain as it's erupting and exploding and collapsing in on itself, and in a giant mass orgy of doom and destruction. And I guess the animals stop when they recognize the head of their master, Lalo, and they don't throw that into the lake. We can see that today as Wizard Island. Now Skell, who had been victorious in this great battle and entombed all the body parts of Lalo in the great crater, filled it with the water of the tears of the people that he had caused all the great suffering to. And so that's why the water is so pure and healing and calming, because all that's in the past now. I hope I gave that story some justice. definitely explains the legends behind the scenery, and that's also why rangers are awesome. I found one on my way out. I stopped and talked to him. I asked him to tell me the legend of Lalo Rock, and there are many legends, but he narrowed it down to that one, and just wanted to share that with you because it gives more meaning to the amazingness that is Crater Lake National Park. On my way out the north entrance, I've noticed in this lodgepole pine forest that they've cleaned it up. They've taken all the fuel that's been laying around for years and they've kind of raked them into these piles. And that in turn should protect against massively big forest fires that start naturally, which these forests do need to burn, being pine forests, but the problem is with too much fuel on the ground, they get bigger than they should be and destroy more than they should. So hopefully this will help. It looks really good.